What's up? What's up? It's Friday, which is my day. Y'all know what time it is. It's Williams Word. I'm your host, Will I Am. As usual, before we get started, let me introduce my main man, the man behind the plan. Y'all know him as DJ Chuck B, Mr. Charles Brinkley. What's up, Chuck?
What's going on, Will? Hey, man, listen, man, I'm always ready to rock on Fridays. And like I told you before, if you rocking, I'm definitely rolling. So let's start rolling, baby.
Oh, man, look. We got a good show today. Well, they all been good, but this one's a little, I'm kind of proud to introduce this next brother because he's like a beacon of light, you know, and he gonna let y'all know it's hope. You know what I mean? This man, I'm gonna just give him the name, and then we're gonna get into all the accolades because we might be here till next week. All right, ladies and gentlemen, everybody watch. I want to introduce y'all to this good brother, Mister Doctor Jabari Whitehead. What's up, Jabari?
Hey, well, Chuck, how you doing today, man?
Hey, we doing fine, brother. Doing fine, man.
Good. Hey, man, wait a minute. Listen, before we get started, why don't you tell us a little something about yourself?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a proud native of Chester's, and that's why I'm so excited to be here, to be able to connect with a city that placed a lot of lessons in my life that got me to where I'm at today. I'm a father of two wonderful children, my wife and I. I'm a school leader, educator, and my whole purpose and goal is just simply to make an impact and add value to the lives of others. So that's what this is about. So again, basically that's what I do. I'm a principal of elementary school. We talk about my formative job. I currently work at elementary school in the Haverford School District as a principal, Chatham Park Elementary School. And other than that, I've been a K-12. I've worked at every level from the high school level as administrator, middle school level as administrator, and then also I taught second and fourth grade. I've been an educator in 3 states: New Jersey, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. And I recently had the opportunity to teach a college course at St. Joseph University, my alma mater, for my doctorate and my master's work. And then obviously I'm a proud Cheney University Wolf, CU. So definitely proud of that part of being part of my journey.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. Now you said a mouthful right there. I'm gonna try to keep up with you. You know what I'm saying? But I see that you taught throughout, I guess, the whole tri-state area, basically. Give me an example. What is the difference as far as education? Like what are the differences and what, I guess, trials and tribulations that you had to overcome or conquer in each area?
Well, first, I can start out just even entering the public education. Let's start there because as you may know, obviously there's not that many of us serving in education, not right. Enough. Mm-hmm. So the first hurdle that I see a lot of colleagues or contemporaries of mine over the years going into it mm-hmm. was the ability to get through the standardized tests. Mm-hmm. The ability to pass the test. Just think about if the urban education system is failing kids. Okay, Frack. Mm-hmm. If the urban education is failing kids, then what happens? The unintended consequences is at that next level, they struggle to pass those type of exams. It could be the practice for teaching. It could be the MCATs, it could be the LSATs, but that's a hurdle right away. Now, I unfortunately went through Catholic school. Mm-hmm. I was St. James, I was CYO kid all the way through, and then a graduate from really high school. And obviously, my parents did a lot of work in preparing me for the education that I did receive. But then at that point, going into it, you had to get over the hurdles of intimidating people in the interview process. Mm-hmm. Going to a suburban district, there's a good chance you're sitting in an interview room where these individuals may not have seen people like you before up close. I know earlier in very early rounds of interviews experiences, I actually had an administrator tell me that he thinks I was scared of children. Because of my look and how I present myself. and it was just that intimidation. But in that process, I got my very first job as a teacher, and I think a lot of times some of it is getting outside your comfort zone and realizing that you may be the only in a lot of cases. My very first teaching job was on the Eastern Shore in Talbot County, Maryland, and I taught second grade. And but again, you have to go through and make sure that you've done your work. You know you're the best candidate for the job. You got to surpass that negative story you could be telling yourself, so you can go ahead and achieve. And just like anywhere else, we go to the interview table, we go in those rooms. It's your job to present your best self and prepare yourself the best way possible. Let them know you are the best that you're bringing to the district. Now, as far as hurdles in terms of working in these areas, you see a lot more of equity issues amongst the kids. So, for example, working in the Talbot County area, that's a county school district. So the county school districts are typically take a greater urgency of getting prepared because it's such a broad, large area. And then you get to I worked in Cherry Hill School District as a principal and also as a fourth grade teacher. And at that time, again, I was brought there to serve a need because, again, they had a population of low income housing community that was there. So I came as a fourth grade teacher, but it was at that time they were looking for aspiring leaders, and they brought me to a program within that district to, again, in their words, to become a principal to begin with. But I think the hurdles mainly is equity and access. Not having that, regardless of the school district, that's been the number one hurdle for the children and the communities that we see.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Because it's sad because you would assume that, each area. I mean, I don't know. It should be help. I mean, that's education. It's like it shouldn't. I understand it's money, tax, and dollars on it, but I think at the same time, the government. Can you hear me?
Breaking up.
I'm breaking up.
Not. There you go. You clear.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. You would think that maybe the government would step in and I think it should be like, I guess, one education for the whole entire country. That's what I'm getting at. You understand what I'm saying? Saying that now is not like that, and I don't. It's all about money at the end of the day, like you just said. So it's crazy, man. But that was just my opinion. I had to get out there. I didn't have a question, but I was just saying it just irks me. That's all.
Now I can follow up on that because the honest answer is that schools are really not meant to create. School is separated. So schooling and education. Right. They're not the same.
Right.
Schooling is the rules, it's the control, it's building children to replace people at the factories or industry. Right. It's creating people to serve an agenda and not really for the individuals themselves. The schooling structure is meant for the adults and not as much for the kids. Obviously children wouldn't want to be sitting in their seats all day long or spend a significant amount of time, changing bells or listening to someone talk at them. So, but then you have education, which is all of your experiences and, things that you want to learn and want to grow in. I don't think regardless of race, color, creed, no one can really count on a school district to be solely responsible for the education of their child. Right. There's a work that has to be put in, and again, that's and some of it definitely schools are built on middle class value system. I would say, and there's no secret, it's white middle class value system that the school structure is built off of. But for us or people of color in general, we have to learn how to play the game. I tell my kids, play the game of schooling. You have school and you have education. You have to play the game of both.
Right.
So yes, when you're saying there's two different systems, we don't have a ministry of education like some countries do. Right. Everything comes down to a local school district, local borough, school board members, and those people in no particular position. So and then from there, it comes down to the individual decisions and advocates or allies that are in front of our children in the classrooms.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
Wow.
Thanks for that, yeah.
Yeah, you broke that down like I've never heard it before. I mean, it's always been there, but you like them books for dummies. You broke it down, like, I mean, you broke it down like so plain and simple. You was very transparent about it because that's a huge problem too. Because like, okay, you from Chester and you've been all around, so you've seen the many differences. You know what I mean in the systems. Because like one glaring thing you always hear about Chester Upland is the teachers. They blame it on the teachers, and I've always said you can't put everything on the teachers because if you say if your child don't want to learn at home, he's not going to want to learn in school. You know what I mean? He's not going to want to. If he don't respect home, he's not going to respect the teachers. So I say sometimes it's not always the teachers. You know what I mean? And that's the big knock on Chester Upland School District. Oh, they're not learning nothing. They're not learning nothing. But to me, I think it's more what you said. That's a lot of places. They don't teach you how to. So they don't educate you, like you said. They teach you to be in the crab in the barrel syndrome. They teach you to go out, find a job, work 40 years, and then retire. Now, that's pretty much it. It's like sometimes it's like you doomed, you know. But what you said just made a lot of sense. Like, you know, the educated part, and of course, they say you might scare the children. Man, listen to me. We had teachers when I was coming up. We had teachers who were scared of the students, you know, and they look like us. They look like us. So I think that's a bad excuse, you know what I mean, to put on somebody because a lot of them teachers, you know, I don't mean no harm. A lot of them didn't want to be there. So it was a double bubble, you know what I mean? I got all A's. You know why I got all A's one year? Because I was absent. A for absent. I kept hooking in school. I kept hooking it. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, it's like you get there and it's like you teaching me the same thing for a whole month. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I'm learning nothing, and I lost interest. You know what I mean? So that's why it's everything you said, man. It speaks volumes. Like we need more guys like you. We need more like you to push the initiative and let brothers know, man, y'all can do this if you want it.
Well, when you mentioned, thanks for saying that, but when you mentioned too, if you want it, what I've learned is that many people, if you go through school, and it's a paradigm we live, if you go through school and you only know what you've seen, I think that is the way it's going to be. This system is, so if I'm in school and we don't have the books or we don't have the access technology or we don't have the support, the support structure, that I think it's supposed to be that way. And as an adult, schooling is one of the most antagonistic environment for an adult who had a negative experience to even go back into the building, to even want to be a part of that. So if I had a negative experience and I assume my children I got to get them through school, then I don't know. I don't even know what questions to ask. I don't know what I'm missing. So say, for example, if you saw your school and saw what was there, and then we took a charter bus filled with people that take them to a neighboring school district and walk the hall to see exactly real time what their kid is missing, you have a whole different set of eye-opening experience. I mean, just to, you walk into a school in urban areas, you see a lot of things as far as like affirmations on a wall about what we can do this, we can make it, fulfill your dreams. You walk into, I was a principal in Upper Marion. You didn't need to put that on a wall because it's the language. It's the language of expectation. And when I was telling Chuck earlier, I grew up at the opposite corner of 3rd and Pintle, smoking Lamokin. So 3rd and Pintle. And my parents, for whatever it was, I had this fortune of sitting with my father yesterday. All he knew for himself is that he wanted more. Right. And his mother couldn't read. I didn't know my grandmother couldn't read. I thought it's funny. That's a funny story. But my father always wanted more. My mother always wanted more. We lived above a restaurant. With didn't have a lot of space in the place where we were at, But then at the same time, in that apartment, they paid for us to go to Catholic school, Immaculate Heart, Holy City, we went to a bunch of different places. But the language that they started with, we never had expectation except that we were going to go to college. There was never any. And meanwhile, we had neighbors who their inheritance was like going to jail.
Yeah.
Going downstairs, going on the corner, going on a block. I mean, I'm not going to, go through names, but all those characters, all those cats, they were showing me knots and wads of money. When I was home from school, I knew the books, but I didn't know, I didn't know how to make bank. So that was one of the things. But for whatever reason that was inside of them, they knew what they wanted for their kids. I was, very, very fortunate. And as far as I really feel for the families who don't know what it is supposed to be. And then the other part of this too, Chuck, is that we release kids from school way too early. The truth of the matter is that the brain, executive function in the human brain, is not developed until 25 to 27 years old.
Wow.
That's all your reasoning, decision making, logic.
Mm-hmm.
So we're having kids already try to figure out who they're going to be. They walk out the doors at 18 years old.
Mm.
That's 6 to 9 years early. And you guys know as well, how many things have you had to unlearn in your life to find your voice? And usually you think about that window, 27 to 30. If you max it up with college or advanced degrees, what ends up happening is that you see a higher performance. Because I interview teachers for jobs, you see a higher performance in their master's program because they have some experience. They know what they want.
Right.
They have a sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
And now they can reframe and rework their job and understand who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely a lot of multi-layers to this. It's definitely complex, but it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It definitely can be done. But I think try to figure out what factors that we have within our control is the first step we have to get into.
Yeah, because you said it. You hit it right on the nose as far as like you knew. Like seeing, you only know what you don't. You only know what you know. That's it. So again, if you're not taught to, I guess, let's say if you're not taught any types of values, and it starts, like you said, Will, starts from the home. Of course, you go to school, but you're at home more than school. So let's say you go to school for 8 hours a day. Now, 16 of the hours you're back at home. So you're gonna more so dwell towards that more 16 than that 8, because you know what I mean. So you gotta have something to stimulate that mind when they get home as well. Mm-hmm. And also teach them type of values. Like, in a lot of times, and now growing up, you see a lot of absentee parents and stuff of that nature. So it makes it harder. And like I said, people that, like I said, never been outside the city, never seen certain things. They don't see it. They can't dream like that because they never see it. So a lot of times, just leaving out of the city just to go somewhere and just to see a whole different life out there that you can have versus what you have. Is sometimes kids don't get that. And I agree exactly what you're saying as far as that's concerned. Like, you have to, teach these values to your kids, Will, like you were saying. And also, as far as the, the parents too, like, it's like sometimes they don't know. So again, you don't know. And like you said, at 27 and 30, you're finally learning what you need to learn. So again, once you learn that, then you want to pass those values on to your kids, and hope that they take those steps so they won't have to go and start from where you started from. They'll start a little bit ahead of where you started. So, I understand that where you're going as far as the foundation, laying that foundation for your kids and making sure that, they're aware of what's going on. Again, you said they don't teach you how to make money. They don't teach you about finances. They don't teach you about credit. They don't teach you about any of that stuff, which is very important. If you're not rich, you definitely have to have credit. As far as making money, you have to learn how to make money. You got more entrepreneurs now because they're starting to learn and starting to realize that, like Will said, you work 40 years and you get 40 or whatever they say. You get a ring, a watch to go along, and then that's that. You live off the Social Security if you have any left, which probably won't be happening after probably our generation or probably sooner. So then again, like I said, you have to learn these things, as far as finances and stuff like that. And you said the expectations of, let's say, a Laura Marion, they're not going to look at that because there's already embedded in them that this is what you're going to do already. They already got plans way ahead of time for their kids, 10, 20 years down the line. Oh, we either going to work for our family business or are we going to do this or do that? And they're showing these kids already, so they got the jump start. So again, I hear that, and we got a lot of questions. We got a lot of people out here that want to say some things.
Sure.
So let me try to go back because we had some interesting questions over here. We'll start right here with Miss Willie Francis Hill. She says, have never been like that. We pay the same taxes, but we don't get the best equipment for our black children. Mm-hmm. You know, what you guys say about that, Jabari? I mean, I agree with that too.
It's just right away. That's facts.
Right. That's right. All right. Exactly.
So, and again, but there's an agenda to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a systemic racism. There's a structure that was in place, and I think that makes sense. And here's the thing: self-awareness is key. We already know that,
right?
Yet we haven't developed a strategic plan to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So I use because I had this conversation with the pastor of my childhood church. It was about strategic planning. All right, so you have the number of churches that you have in the city, right?
Right.
Significant amount. You have an audience in front of you. Sometimes you have 2 services, 3 services, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know we're in COVID era now, but it's just going before then, and it still can be done. So we take a look at what if once a month on a Sunday, instead of using every single Sunday, for preaching, what if we took an hour or 2 hours on that day?
Mm-hmm.
You coordinate the talents and identify the skill set of all the people in your church.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come up with an action plan. Like, what are the 3 target area primary aims that you want to attack that you are saying is plaguing your community?
Right.
So now you come up, and there's budget neutral things to do. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't cost money. For example, if you want change at a school board meeting, you want them to do what you need to do. It's just like filibuster. You get a group of people, you send them to go sit down and ask a question, hold those people accountable.
Mm.
If one knows those videos, those meetings are public, they're on TV, there's an audience. And I learned that you wear a school board down.
Mm.
You can wear them. I see it done in Upper Marion. I've seen it done in Cherry Hill. I've seen it done in Top. I see it done in all the districts I've ever been a part of.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't use that skill set ourselves to do that. I mean, because and my dad talks about it all the time. There's nothing work, like a lot of times he was like, well, men want action. We want to know what we need to do and get it done. You don't want to be sit up here and waste time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know that you have a plan of action going along the way, that's how you get things moving forward. Because otherwise, we know that the schools may not be using resources or getting them into place, but there's enough free information, free tools online that you can supplement whatever is missing. Wherever the gap is, there's enough free tool. It's just like, we look at our phones, and how you can look at the phone to see how much time you spent on there.
Right.
Take how much time you spent on the phone and see where, it shows you what you value. What are you using that phone or device for? Are you creating or consuming? You guys are creating. You're making a difference through this platform, through this forum. Or you could have been like every other joker that sits there and just watch, and literally nonsense and not do anything with it.
Right.
So that is, again, we're self-aware that those issues are there. So what do we do now that we have that knowledge? Like Maya Angelou says, we know better, you do better. So that's upon us. We can't wait.
That's right. And Izzy Meditate says, during your journey, what did you do to remain true to yourself and your calling?
Yeah, hello, Izzy. So we went to high school together, and she is always a great friend. And she was like, I think 1 year behind, and she's 93, I'm 92. Mm-hmm. And as far as true to my call, it's funny. I look back in the yearbook, and there was a Tribe Called Quest quote, Q-tip: "If knowledge is the key, then show me the lock."
There you go, baby. And
that's been the guide for my career. Earlier on, I was following, again, we talk about unlearning things. Mm-hmm. Earlier on, I had this whole idea of becoming a mechanical engineer, young black man, great career, let's make some money.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first piece. And then I was going through this false image of myself for a good period of time, as a young man, and the ego and the bravado and the false masculinity and getting swole. Will was getting swole. That's all. That's all I wanted. Swole, the clubs, GTL, Gym Tan, laundry. That was it.
Right.
So, truthfully, along the way, what ended up happening is that I found my calling through coaching when I was no longer, I wasn't playing football anymore. I had opportunity to coach children and had some mentors when I was coaching at Garnet Valley within that program along the way. And that made a significant difference. Then I found my path, my journey from that point. So it's been about service and adding value to others. And I think my upbringing in the city, again, seeing, there have been so many people that lived in our household, and my parents had pulled off the street. And I didn't understand it as much back then, even going to church there. But there was just a lot of giving that was around me. We didn't have much, but I think that kind of kept the course and let me know what my purpose is, to be humble to that, to make sure it's about serving others. That's why I truthfully it's very difficult to even talk about. Each time before I go on in a podcast or anything, I often, meditate and think about, make sure it's not about ego. If it's either about serving and impacting others. If it's not that, then I don't want any parts of it. So again, that's what it is about staying true to yourself.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that, brother. Definitely. And Miss Willie Francis Hill. Hey, Miss Willie Francis, I got your book today. I'm definitely going to check it out. It's awesome book. She was on here earlier this year. She did her thing and on Feel Good Talk. So the system wasn't designed for the black and brown. What do you have to say about that one, Jabbar?
I mean, there is so much evidence to that. Think about, so we talk about the benefits and deficit or damage that was done by, and again, I want people have to understand the historical context. So it's about the integration of schools. You had this celebration about schools being integrated, yay! But then my family is from Hancock County, it's Sparta, Georgia, Hancock County. So there were teachers back then who, when that was going on, had their own school district, own community, separate but equal, whatever's going on, but we made it work. And so you can find memoirs and letters where teachers of color who had a master's, advanced degrees, who had created all these communities, principals, doctors, educators, all of a sudden now they're being sent home from when the county's the superintendent or governor, or a letter that came through telling them your services are no longer needed. And then there's other letters going out to the public to make sure that those people know that your child will not be taught by a Negro. So those letters you can find. You can think of Wilmington, North Carolina. You can think of any state, as particularly the southern states, but the North wasn't off the hook either. You can find those things that occur. So if you think about, we are, Zarita Hammond wrote the book, Culturally Responsive Classrooms. Zarita Hammond, and she talks about the collectivism and individualism.
Okay.
On one of the, I forget what page it is, but there's a table or chart that breaks down all the cultures that typically lean towards collectivist nature. And usually they're your brown groups, your West African groups, your Native American or Mexican or Latino or Hispanic, those groups, or even lower socioeconomic classes, even among whites, in that range. But for a black and brown, if you're a collectivist culture and you go to school and the other culture is more individualistic, then it definitely just comes a conflict. And in the way of learning, we learn through stories, oral history, the call and respond method. So the raising hand. so the raising hand in schools is counterproductive to children who are black and brown. Think about church.
Right.
So church, movie theater, church, comedy shows, Look, I was at Liberty University where I was first going to school at, which predominantly white university, 1AA football. I had opportunity to play there, and then I went from there, and that was such a definitely it was me and exchange students that was that existed on that area, and then I came and transferred, ended up at Cheney, and when I got to Cheney, it was crazy because you got somebody up there, Leslie Pinckney Hill Library, talking to somebody way down at the bottom of the hill, where where the education building is. So we got multiple conversations, got that. So the learning style is so different.
Right.
But you got kids in schools who are being penalized for who they are and not being accepted, and they're dying to hold on to their identity.
Right.
And what I'm going to give you this though, what I have learned is that once myself or a person of color puts on a suit or a shirt and tie, you almost become disqualified in some cases because because there's a perception that you didn't go through anything, that you're so different that how can you possibly relate, that you made it somehow, that you're done, and there's no deadline in life except one, and I think that is the concern. So Zaretta Hammond's work, she had a TED Talk. I highly recommend that. And then I know Ruby Payne's Understanding Poverty also speaks on the differences of where the clash is. And again, let's go back to what we can control, that self-awareness. What can we do about it? Because Dr. King says we can't wait on the spirit of gradualism. Action has to be done now. You got to take those steps and get things moving forward for your children, for those around you, and reach back to make sure that people can access information, know where to find things that are free, things that can help and again meet the needs of those children.
Awesome, man. Hey, we got a question from Marvin Dukes. He says, what's your view on social emotional learning?
Oh, highly necessary, especially in these times. Our children, let me start with myself because I've shared this. I have a very supportive superintendent in my school district. We actually connected over, we've known each other almost 20 years, even before I came and worked alongside her in this district that I'm in. But I'm very honest out front about what happened with George Floyd and the impact that had even on ourselves, as men or just human beings. Seeing somebody's body rolled up like a deer onto a back of a truck. Is basically the way that looked like when he rolled onto a stretch. I mean, I had nightmares for days, and then having a brown boy or a brown girl, it was devastating. So I said that to say about my trauma. We experienced trauma. Our children experienced micro trauma long before that. It just played out on TV, and we had opportunity to see it. But long before that, from microaggressions to to the fact that children have lived a full day before they ever arrive through a school building. Adults can live a full day before they arrive at work. So it's very difficult to bring your whole self or be wholehearted to something if you got pieces of yourself torn apart. Right. So you can't teach. So we talk about brain science. I can connect with you guys if I speak to your heart and your feelings, right? And then we can connect. That's the affective domain of the brain. Learning has to touch on that before you can move forward. So if a kid comes to school and they didn't sleep well, you can't start teaching and be focused on the idea of getting this math lesson in, or you just don't have to learn. No, that's not how it works. And I know I hold my teachers accountable for that, and it's just the expectation that social emotional learning, having a responsive classroom, making sure that we, Zaretta Hammond, I'm probably gonna beat this to death, but it's talking about creating allies for children, building a relationship. It can be something as simple as I had a kid in Upper Merion. I could tell it was that was a rough day. If she didn't do her hair, that means, and she was wearing mismatched clothes, that means she's up all night with a puppy. Something as simple as that. And just by noticing something that's their fatigue there, offer somebody a drink of water, or give them an opportunity to just let's go take a walk, or giving them one-to-one time, or reaching out to what is really bothering them, the underlying factors. Because sometimes and this goes back even with the police officers and everything that's going on there, with the idea that distress is sometimes viewed as hostility or being combative when there's distress or disturbance on the inside that needs to be engaged. And I think that is, we talk about social emotional learning, especially in these times. In these times, we have to be crisis leaders. John Maxwell talks about this a lot, that in times of crisis, it's about relationships, and stop doing business and start doing relationships. And I think that is the social emotional learning. Emotional learning plays a large part.
Yeah, brother. Hey, you hit everything on the nose right there. And I'm gonna go through 3 more, and that'll be that. As far as the questions, that's where my father is from. She corrected herself from. What's up, Bessie? The part of Georgia. I didn't get the part of Georgia, but that.
Yeah, it's, Hancock, Sparta, Georgia. Hancock County. Yeah.
There you go. Yup. And Izzy Meditate says, yes, trauma plays a huge effect on learning. It's important for teachers to be aware of that in every community.
Yeah.
And she also has this one here, post COVID-19, we will definitely have to be aware of trauma and its effect on children's learning. So
yeah, so I just touch on that, with COVID-19, and I know our children are feeling a significant loss. The adults, for the most part, I mean, adults are stressed in a lot of ways about work. They're stressed in a lot of ways about some of the comforts, what they were comfortable with before. But what ends up happening now, and I put this practice into play because I definitely needed it myself. Where our children, I stopped talking about school performance, and start speaking more to their hearts, and start taking a look and being awe of who they are. We still have expectations as far as their effort and character, but we wanted to move away from a message that who they are and the love is. We don't want our love to be conditional based off of their scores at school, because think about it, you can't go anywhere without a focused conversation on how the school thing is going. Kids are hearing it more and more and more. And I know we mentioned earlier, usually the extent of the conversation about school had been, did you do your homework or not? And that was it. Now that you got the adults, hovering in the background for the, on live stream when the kid is trying to learn, or when the adults are out in public with friends or whatever, they're having a conversation or complaining about what's happening. So there's some negative energy, and for kids, you can't. A child is not going to buy in to the learning if the parents are negative about the experience that's taking place. There's no, how it is. Like if your child knows that, forget that teacher, then that child you got a full license to go in there and act a fool and not pay attention and do what you're doing. Yep.
That's true, man. And that's the problem with these kids now. I mean, COVID, they got to see exactly what they have, at home. So that's, it's a good thing. So when that teacher calls, I always say this, when that teacher calls home, tell how bad they are, now you won't get in the teacher's behind and say, I know my son ain't do it. You're going to get right in that behind like they used to do back when I was coming up. The teacher called my house, please. It was on and pop. When I got home, it was on and popping.
Yeah. And a lot of times the teacher our parents. It was like, how you know? Yeah. Right. It was funny,
Hey, Marv says, thank you for your response. As a CU a Chester Upland School District employee, I relate to the students I encounter every day, so it becomes a part of my walk to make a difference in the community in which I grew up in. So thank you, Marv, for that, brother. We definitely need more like you, brother, because some of these kids need to talk, and some they don't have that at home. Some of them just don't have that at home. So again, just a hug, a hey, what's going on, man? That goes a long way, believe it or not. You know what I mean? So again, thanks for that. And Willie Francis Hill says, thank you, Charles. I appreciate you. Oh, yes, you're talking about when I bought the book. And we appreciate you too, Miss Willie Francis Hill. Thanks for supporting Feel Good Talk, and we definitely appreciate you.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna read it.
I want to go back a little bit first for you, Jabari. I saw you sipping your tea. I'm not allowed to drink. I get fined and docked.
No, I ain't.
I'm sorry.
Right?
I ain't.
I don't know the guidelines.
Have one for me. I get docked. My pay get docked. So
it's my protein drink. I'm drinking protein. Protein tea.
to share this story. I got a couple things I wanted to run by. Everything was going so fast, like a whirlwind. I mean, I remember a friend of mine who is a teacher came and gave me this story, and it really touched me like some kind of way. She said she had two children in her class come to blows. She said one was a straight A student, the model student. The other one showed up every now and then, the thug attitude, whatever. So she said she broke the kids up and told the straight A student, that's not you. You don't need to be doing this. You go on places, stick to your work, do what you do. Said the next day, the straight A student's parents came to the school and jumped in her face, said, "Don't embarrass my child." And I was like, where they do that? My mom would have been like, "Oh, thank you," whatever. Or, because we come from that time where you can always tell who mom that was coming in the classroom when they act like they working. My mom would come up there and get a signal, but it's related to what we talked to a while back. The parenting too. It can be brutal. It can be the root of all evil because, like you said, okay, some parents really just don't care. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. Some of them, you feel bad for some of these kids because some of these parents just don't understand. I don't understand how a teacher looking out for a student had to endure that kind of repercussion. You know what I mean? How would you handle something like that?
Well, so in that situation, when I usually engage the parents as the administrator, and I've had parents approach me in that manner before. Don't humiliate my kid or appear to be ungrateful. Excuse me. I think that right away I try to get to the underlying factor, like what is going on, why is this parent concerned acting that way, and want them to be heard. And usually listening goes a long way, because as soon as we get them to, if we take it personal, I've adopted the line of everything is free theater. So I don't take you detach from it, you don't take it personal, because they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the wisdom. They don't even have the, think about this, they don't even have the communication skills to come or speak any other kind of way. So at that point, I try to not put them on guard. So I listen to them and see, sometimes I ask them, like, how would you suppose I do handle that situation? So I lay it back in there, like, you tell me, because I need to hear from you. Mm-hmm. And then it's also, sometimes I repeat back to the parent exactly what they just said, because they need to hear themselves. I want to, because sometimes I remember I had a situation where a young man, a teacher was holding a child accountable, and the parent didn't like it. And I had to let the parent know, well, here's what I need you to do, because I know we tried X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. I know we've reached out to you before, and now we're here seeing you. So at this point, my guess is that you don't want us to support your child. So if that's the case, put in writing for me, because we are mandated to make sure your child receives education. Put in writing for me so we can make sure if this is what you want, so we can make sure this is what's for you. Now, here's the other thing too. Sometimes I try to remind parents that, that we are the experts, that we are educational experts. This is a science. It's not a game. You may believe, and that's a failure across all school districts. This happens pretty commonly. You may believe that you know education because your friend's a teacher or you went through school, usually just because they went through school or have a higher degree. Mm-hmm. But let's not pretend you know how to do my work. Mm-hmm. I won't pretend I know how to do yours. So that's where we want to leave that at. We can agree or disagree, but at the same time, our duty is to serve your child, because there's a difference. You serve people or please people. Service is what is required. Pleasing people will have you run all over the place. You won't even know yourself anymore after that.
Right, exactly.
That's different. But yeah, I feel for the teachers because they get the nasty grams a lot of times. They email, and cowardice shows its face quite often in this electronic society. Where you can write something through email, text message, or post on social media, and we have teachers who are afraid of a parent copying the email, posted on social media, or now being in the virtual world, parent video recording what's on the screen and putting it on their Facebook page. But look at this teacher. Like, well, how would you like your job, someone following you around with a GoPro to watch you do every single thing and pick out your very worst moment and put it on display? Mm. So I think that there's just some reality there. And I guess for teachers, the best thing to do, I think detachment goes a long way, and focusing on the areas that are actually within their control. Because even with all this, we find that there's a greater sense of support overall, largely for teachers, than it actually is in the opposite.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Man,
I'm gonna tell you the teacher. Go ahead, Will.
You real effort. You know, you on point. You know what I mean? You don't seem rattled. It's like, I mean, you get the best of both worlds. You come from Chester, and you weren't just schooled. You was educated, and you apply it very well because your answer was sent. It made sense. You know, you usually don't get that from people, and you didn't just have one answer. You had two, and they both made sense. You know what I mean? And then before, hold on, Chuck. I'm sorry. You guys were talking about the trauma.
Yep.
Right. Now, how would you handle this? Because I didn't have the answers. Because me and Chuck, what me and Chuck try to do, we're coming up in the city. You know, we see youngsters, we try to pull them to the side, talk to them. You know, like, hey, what's up? How you doing? That's not what you're supposed to. You know, we try. I had a conversation with a couple of young bucks, and we were talking about the George Floyd thing and how bad it looked. And most of them was like, oh, we used to that. How do you address that? I had no answer. It was so disheartening, but I had no answer. I didn't have nothing, no reply, nothing, no combat. You know, if you talk to your students about that, and that was their response, how do you address that?
Well, the truth of the matter is that they bought into a generational story, because when they say that, I'll ask point blank, is that your story though? Because they may believe that for what they see, but that's not where their heart is. So until they see it, and sometimes it's challenging them to provide evidence that they believe, well, that's what it's going to be. Because I even wrote in my journal, I journal like every morning and evening. But with that, I remember when I turned 45, I struggled with having a picture of who I was, like visually. So I made it here. Chuck talked about, he turned 50, and I'm like, it's like the fact that I didn't have a visual picture. I didn't have a visual picture what I was going to be, what it's going to look like at 18, 25, 30. So it's almost a shame that you look at it like, I didn't see this. I didn't have an image of, even if my parents told me about college, those things, I held on to that because they were driving, but they were driving force. But I think the honesty, when you talk to these kids, it's about listening, because you listen to them. So tell me more. Let's just try to give me more. Tell me more about that. Give me evidence. Give me more information about what you're feeling and why you say those things. And then we try to find out how to align who they are with what they could become and what we see them as. Like, so they often need, we have to be a mirror reflecting back to them what we believe they can be. And sometimes if everyone else is bought into that generational story, then, they're not reflecting that back. They're like, if you ain't ish, I'm not, you ain't gonna be ish because I'm not that. Right. So and we sell that story to the kids, and that's why they don't believe. And think about this too. Social media and TV has put more adults on display doing dumb stuff. And why would I now have hope? Right. I have respect for you when I get to see these images. We have to go and try to earn trust. We have to earn credibility with these young people. They're watching us. Right. They know us better than we know ourselves. I mean, I have a son. I learned so much from my children about myself. We think we're teaching them. These young people, they are making judgments based off our merits. They literally are doing that right now. If you read, Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote an essay, about 21 pages, but on self-reliance. And in there, he notes about that young people, young men in particular, they're looking at us and they either celebrate us or dismiss us based off our merits. Point blank, they judge and jury, you're done. So if you are not about substance talking to them, and if you're not showing up consistently, keep coming back. Like the one time they want to see it, and I know in our culture we're like the show me state. You know, it's like you got to keep coming back. I'm gonna push your buttons because I don't believe you yet.
Right.
And I mean, I once had a young man attack me when I was a middle school principal, and because I called, I saw he was wearing this kid was wearing a full blown hoodie. It was like 90 degrees outside.
Right.
Next to passing drugs. It's like right outside my office window, the first floor window. I was like, all right. It's like he didn't know any better. So,
right.
But the underlying factor was he lived in an abusive home, abusive situation. He got caught, and he swung at me because in his head, when I went to visit him later at his placement, he said he knew I wouldn't hurt him. He knew that I wouldn't take it upon myself to really harm him. I handled him, but he knew. But the only way he was going to get out of his situation was to get detained. He would rather be detained and locked up than he would rather go home. So that was his end. That was his time frame. That was his window of opportunity that he took. And so I still maintain a connection with that young man today. I mean, his life's much better.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, it's like it's about keep showing up, keep coming back. At some point, they'll believe you. And every kid wants to see the consistency. Every kid wants to know that it's unconditional, no matter no matter how much acting a fool I am. You still believe and see a bigger picture for me than I do.
And that's true, man. That's why it's so important what you put on here. You talk about social media. You see a lot of nonsense on here. You see a lot of dumb stuff versus when these kids see that, they believe that and they think that's how you're supposed to act. So you got to give them something to, something of substance, because if you don't, then they'll just continue that cycle over and over again where, we're labeled as, animals, whatever. We can't hold a conversation without cursing. We can't, none of that, so again, it's very, very important that, especially these adults, like I said, need to grow up on this social media and start taking accountability for that. You understand what I'm saying? Because what you spit out there, will either it's going to do two things: it's going to harm or it's going to help. So either way, you figure out what you want to do. So again, we try to do that here on Feel Good Talk. We try to pump out stuff, the information that people can use versus the everyday stuff they see in the street or what my man did up the corner and all that bull crap, which has nothing to do with advancing and growing as a people or as whatever you're trying to grow as. But again, that's what we try to spit here and we try to give out. So
I want to make sure I would give, because no matter where you are, I want to give just 5 things.
Go ahead, brother.
5 health facts, 5 things that we have control over no matter what, no matter where we are, period. And I think the first one is, I think the first one is sleep.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah, so you got your quality of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Putting away the social media, putting away the device, eating foods that can be good for you to help you sleep, and then getting away from the disturbing images in the environment. And then nutrition is the second one. Having food that will love you back, getting access, and what my wife actually she did research with Crohn's disease, and in her research she learned. One of the things, the environmental racism is the fact that you have food deserts in communities. Like there's no legitimate supermarket within the city limits. You don't have that opportunity. So and then in teaching them people how to do that. So you got sleep, nutrition, and then you have your mindset. We talk about growth mindset, and we talk about detaching and focusing on things of value and really putting in the work. So a lot of times we'll just, how the kids talk about like what they want to be when they grow up. They say, I want to go to the NBA. Well, you call their bluff. Are you putting in the work? How many shots you get in? You say you want to play football? How many you run those steps today? So calling their bluff, calling them out on that, and then showing them the way. And we have a role to play in that as well. But mindset, getting into that proper mindset, and then movement. movement and exercise. You know, you can only you get to work your body and have healthy habits so you can be around, even live the dreams that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously those relationships, and the relationships part probably the most difficult part in our world. It's like you got relatives that are not good for you, that you can't be around.
Mm-hmm.
In your household. I have cousins that we can't be together. It's just that because of the lifestyle, where it hurts though, because we grew up, the way you grew up with them, the way you relied on one another, and then whatever position they hold in their life, you can't have them around because of the position you hold in your own life.
Right.
And the way you can be around your family. But you got some decisions to make. And I learned the hard way. When I was 16, I had a best friend and I'm gonna keep a long story short. But at 16, I almost lost my life over a betrayal, which put me at a crossroads. And it basically gave me the opportunity to take a look. You're either going to straddle the fence and keep showing up around here, or you're going to go do what you're meant to do.
Right.
It was so bad that I couldn't even show up for my yearbook pictures to take pictures because I was disfigured.
Wow.
In that situation. But then relationships, and we're the average of the top 5 people we hang around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to put it point blank, if you got 9 broke friends, you're gonna be number 10. So it's pretty much how that works. Iron sharpens iron, and like you said, are doing, I think, that makes a lot of difference. So sleep, nutrition, mindset, movement, exercise, and then relationships. We have control over all of those as best we can. Sometimes children don't because of living situations. But as far as the 5 things you can work on consistently, these are things that you can get yourself, part, and they don't cost anything.
Exactly, and that's important too. And the last one, like you said, especially everything you said was important. Eating, because you definitely got to eat right. I mean, eat right. You got to sleep. That's definitely important for your thinking process to be sharp. And the last thing that really hit me too is the people we hang around. A lot of people carry these negative energies, man, and when they pass those energies on to you, it affects you in a way you might not think it does, but it will affect you eventually. It's just a matter of time. So you definitely want to surround yourself with people that are, trying to do something, either the same thing you're trying to do or something positive in a positive way, or something you can, grow with. And like you said, if you're the only one in the posse or the only one in the crew with money, eventually you're going to be the last one that's going to be broke. So again, because you're going to be taking care of all of them versus just, trying to build and trying to, advance yourself. So again, man, all that was true, man. I'll definitely appreciate that. I'm gonna write those down, those 5 there. So
my concern for us is that we don't know how to network. I'm very concerned. I get very concerned that because we struggle to get out of our comfort zone.
Right.
We think it's about who we know instead of who knows us.
Right.
Do the right people know who you are? Do the right people do you have allies, advocates, and mentors? Who are your mentors? Who are the people, whether they're dead or alive, who are the people that you're learning from? How are you spending your time? How are you growing? And especially as men, like, do we if you find a mentor, another man and I use that Sanskrit word mudita, which is having vicarious joy in someone else's success. We get empathy. When somebody's sad, we fall into that. But do we enough, because the network and connect, do we celebrate someone else's success? Are we happy for them? Do we want to continue to see them rise and grow? Yes, if that's happening, yes, because you're learning and growing alongside that person.
Right.
But again, I do get concerned that do we know how to outreach? Do we send? Is it our pride in the way of us emailing, setting ourselves up on LinkedIn, or reaching out to someone, or Twitter, or reaching out to someone that we admire, and how do we go about connecting with that person? I think that plays a large part. But yeah, networking, I don't think people do that enough, or take the advantage of that opportunity to put themselves in a position to grow with someone that's going to help them make better, challenge them. Be honest with them.
Yeah, man, and that's true. You said it all, bro. Because again, you got to go outside your comfort zone in order to be great. In order to be successful and great, you have to stay uncomfortable. And if you're constantly comfortable, then obviously you're doing something wrong. So again, I always preach that all the time. Get uncomfortable. Go outside. Meet people that you normally wouldn't meet. Go out there and do whatever. And I've done that all my life. Try to stay uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So it's working for me. So I definitely encourage everybody out there. If you're not uncomfortable, then you need to start getting uncomfortable.
You guys follow Dave? They got Dave Goggins.
Goggins. Not heard of Dave Goggins. I don't follow him though. I don't follow him, but I heard of him. Yes.
Yeah. He wrote that book, Can't Hurt Me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty impactful story. But that whole idea of leaning into discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
Leaning into the pain, like whatever you're afraid of, whatever your fears are, you make that your friend.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
No. Tom, no. Hold on. Let me explain something to you. Now, Jabari, you nailed it. As far as who knows you, and what I mean, do you want others to accept? Are you there to help others? When they Chuck pulled me here. Chuck told me, I think you can do this. And he walked me through this. I was so nervous. Let me tell you, I had the air on 6 degrees below zero. Still sweating bullets. But the whole time, he said, keep your phone. We texting each other while we're doing the show. And every day he'd come get me. We try to work out, because that's another story. But we worked. Tell me. He was constantly like, we're going to do this. 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 And we started getting rave reviews. He was the first one. Come on, let's go to lunch and talk about how we can build on this. You know what I mean? He never wavered, and you don't get that with a lot of people. Like, I'm like, that ain't just my brother. He want me to, to be successful. You know what I mean? I told him he was on another platform, and I told him some things how I felt, and we were both thinking the same thing, and we just took off from there. So that part is like monumental, what you said, and the 5 things you talked about. I got to make sure I get the other ones. Sleep, I'm the master. I'm not asleep, but as far as working out, I'm going to the wrong gym. Because feeling gyms ain't working. Like the food part, I eat so much crap, but I've been doing good lately. Another thing, Chuck, he jumped on me about it all the time. You know what I mean? That's why I wear 2X, but you wear 4, 5.
I'm an XL now, baby.
Yeah, but he stayed on me about it. Health is wealth. He stayed on me about it, and I appreciate all that. But yeah, you like everything we talked about. You have some knowledge towards it. You know what I mean? And that speaks. That makes me want to contact you even more and get more information. Like, okay, how did he know? Like you just didn't study school in leadership. You got a doctorate in leadership, educational leadership from St. Joe's. You've been to St. Joe's, Cheney, Liberty. You know what I mean? The only college I've been to was DCC, Delaware County Prison. I ain't ashamed. It helped me learn some things. So I use it as a learning tool, not to go back and what to do to better myself, because that's another thing. At some point, you have to realize, who are you? What do you want? What do you want to be? And for you to get where you at, and you caught yourself in time. I'm almost 70 and still didn't figure it out. But this here gives me some ideas and what I want to do, where I want to be, where I want to go. You know what I mean? Who I am in life. And that gives you a whole different mindset. It's like a stress level down, because other than that, you lost. Like you said, that when you 18 and they open that door to life, you don't know what you're doing.
No idea. No idea.
There might be an exception, maybe a 2% exception to the rule. All right, you know. But for the most part, like you said, at 18,
Mhm.
I'm still curling up under my mom like I'm 12.
Right.
You know, I'm not ready yet, you know. So you nailed that, and I hope people watching can take that information and apply it in their households with their children, you know, or coming up. Because I got a 19-year-old, and sometimes I seem lost, you know, telling my daughter, you know, what do you want to be? And I'm like, I didn't even know what I wanted to be.
Right.
The fact that you in college and she wants to be a CSI officer, the fact that you are leaps and bounds way ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? Just keep doing what you're doing. You know, I try to encourage her, keep doing what you're doing, like you said. And that helps me up here because I don't want them to go the path that I went. I don't want them to walk around lost for years because that's how I felt. I felt lost because I've had ample opportunities and never took advantage of nothing. But when Chuck presented this to me, and he also said, "You're a natural." He said, it's not a day of work if you love what you're doing. And that now I got a whole new outlook. And plus I want a pinky ring. So I got a pinky ring. And he loves saying, see what he gets you.
Yeah,
So, that's a more incentive. You come on the show, you stand out because you make it cool to be smart. You know what I mean? When we was coming up, that to a lot of people, that wasn't cool. That's not the end thing. You make it cool to be smart, educated, want more, be a boss. Like this is what life is about. And for a lot of the young black men, that means a lot. You know what I mean? So hopefully soon going forward, we can do some more things where we can have you know what I mean, telling us more, encouraging us more. Because I mean, remember on New Jack City, the educated brother from the bank. That you the educated brother.
I'm not Christopher Williams though. I'm West. I don't want to be.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
You inspired me to want to sharpen my mind a little bit more. Because I thought I knew some things, but you let me know that the opportunities to learn are endless. It's much more I can learn. And then you showed me that I got to start wearing a medium so y'all can see my definition.
No, that's a large. That's peace.
So you learn. I learned to swallow my pride and not be afraid to learn from another man, because that's a big problem in our communities. Guys like, oh, you don't know more than me, but it's hard to listen. You might learn, and you taught me a lot in this little bit of time, and it's like I want more, So
well, I want to speak on what because you mentioned. Thank you so much, and I'd love to engage you guys even beyond this. You were talking about accountability partner. That's what you guys were for each other. I mean, the fact that he showed you love and spoke life to you. And then, you got that bond and continue to cycle that through. And now you're putting it out in the universe, and that makes a difference. So, and then the idea of doing that inner work, right? So giving yourself the time to learn, being uncommon amongst uncommon men, uncommon people. So a lot of times to do that, to give ourselves time, like I wake up each day. I used to wake up at 3:45 a.m. I get up at 4 a.m. every day. Wake up at 4 a.m., and then I go through, I read Jay Shetty's book, Think Like a Monk. And one of the things his acronym is time, practicing gratitude. I have this journal that I, my gratitude journal, like every morning, they come and write in that journal every day before the day starts. And then the I is insight. I listen to the Daily Stoic, which is a Stoicism podcast. It's that whole idea that memento mori, that we could be gone tomorrow.
Right.
So what do we do at this time right now? How are we getting better in these times. So gaining insight, feeding myself wherever I can, and you guys feeding yourself whatever wisdom you can, or getting around whoever you're going to be around to grow. Right. And then M is that motivation, meditation. You know, that's the breathing exercises. That's going inward and learning more about myself, spending time in solitude. And for kids, like, especially girls. I mean, I have a daughter. She's 11, but I always talk to both my kids. Is that can you love yourself when you're by yourself? Can you overcome that noise?
Right.
Because externally, somewhere, your closest friend could be the one to betray. This whole lovey-dovey best BFF stuff that is out there, we know it's false, fake, and we talk about your handful of friends. You know, I judge friends even as an adult. Basically, for me, if I die, can you take care of my kids for me? Can I trust my child in your hands?
Right.
That's how I judge friendship. Bottom line, I know, because that's what means more to me than anything, right? And then E is, you know, exercise again. So, you know, you got your being thankful for the day, because you can't really go wrong. And then, Will, to add to your daughter, I think that conversation too, what I think about is, and even for ourselves, is that to be list. Because think about it, if you think every day what you're to be a listener, to be compassionate, to be a worker, then that's easier. Because all other things, the to-do list change all the time. But if I set my compass for myself, then no one else is setting my compass or conscious for me. I know who I am. I have this identity I set for myself every day. So, and a lot of times, to setting a to-be list give me a chance to reflect. So if there's an area I need to grow in, to be so temperance. If I'm short tempered, boom, that's one of the 3 things I need to work on. So this I want to be mindful today. So again, and I think with kids, adding that to the conversation, because they can change their idea of who they are going to be many times. You guys, you can be 67 years old and have a career change.
Right.
Your work. Wes Moore talks about doing a job versus your work. And the whole idea is that your work could be completing the job supposed to show up for, right? Your work is, you know, who you are and what you're committed to, and how you're going to, what impact you're going to have. I think that is, and again, you guys, you know, that accountability you're showing one another, the fact that you took this upon yourself and stepped out, because what your work you're doing right now, and I mean it sincerely, it's not easy. Because you're putting it out there regardless, and whoever's going to get some of it, whoever needs it is going to receive it. And many times we do this work because it's what we need. Like you write the books that you need.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really inspired by this conversation.
Hey man, thanks for coming on. We definitely appreciate you. But I do want to give a shout out, excuse me, to Miss Willie Francis Hill. Here's our book right here. It's called The Chosen by God, the little brown one. So I got my copy today. Definitely check it. I'm gonna go right. Look, there it is. So definitely check this out. It's on Amazon. Definitely order that book. I'm definitely gonna read it. She was on here. She had a hell of a story. So definitely pick that book up.
And congratulations to her. That's a significant achievement.
Yes, it did. And a shout out to Izzy Meditates. As you know, she had the book that just came out, her and her daughter. Yeah. So definitely check her out. And she says, "Gentlemen, you are all awesome. Talks like this are encouraging and will spark a light in the minds of many." And that's our mission. Hopefully it will spark. Hopefully it will change some of the narratives out there, and do the right thing. So again, thank you. We didn't see anything about a sponsor, but go ahead. We say, Will.
Thank you, and you, Jabari, because you guys inspired me. Like, see how Jabari, you pulled that book. You know, you read books. You know what I mean? That inspired. Chuck has shown me many books, and he'll show them on the show. And he inspired me to pick up a book besides, Mad Magazine or Penthouse. He made me hit a book.
There you go. The other way up.
Okay, yeah.
There you go.
Maybe you can learn a whole lot in this thing here. But I'm not ashamed to say I was inspired by Chuck, most likely, because he will always talk about books. One of our network partners, Naeem Najee,
yeah,
he has 10 books out. Check
and
him out.
Chuck pulled them out like, yeah, I read this, and I'm sitting there like, wow, I'm way behind because I need to start picking up a book. And I went over a friend's house and I saw this book, and I was like, let me borrow that. So not because he's not getting it back, I can pretty much say I stole it, but I'm reading it.
Sure.
I'm reading it, and the word accountability has came out of both of your mouths several times. So I thought it was appropriate to show you guys that I'm on board too. I'm trying to better myself along the way.
And that's awesome, Will, because a lot of people want people to be accountable and are not even accountable themselves. Put it like that. How you expect accountability from somebody you're not accountable? So again, there you go. So that's awesome, man. It's awesome. Definitely read that. Now, I'm wondering if I should go ahead and play this commercial because I've been trying to play it all night, but it's been awesome conversation. But I don't think this is the A Game. This is our sponsor for the night, so I definitely got to play it because this they pay us, so we got to definitely do it. So they'll let you talk. They're going to talk to you, and we'll come right back. Here we go.
This is A Game, an all-natural herbal dietary supplement formulated exclusively for men. Our proprietary blend was designed with one goal in mind: to improve your overall health, rejuvenating your vitality, energy, strength, and libido. Want to be at your peak performance in everything you do? Then bring your A game. Fast-acting, long-lasting, with no side effects.
Oh my God.
All right, that's the A Game. I know. We're folk here, but again, this pill is not just for your libido. It's good for strength. It's good for it actually sends oxygen to all of your vital organs in your body. It also builds your immune system as well, and there's 19 natural herbs. So definitely check out the A Game. If you want your free sample, give me a call at 302-723-2836 to get your free sample of A Game. This is some good stuff. Trust me.
It's the end of the commercial. Oh my God.
And you know what? I got another one, but it's a
fine.
workout commercial. But that's cool. But at least tells you exactly. It gives all the breakdown of what it does. So it tells you everything it does. So you leave all that to your imagination. Her laughing behind the scenes, behind the door. But again, it's some good stuff. Definitely want to check it out. So I definitely want the fellas to check it out. We don't have anything for the women right now, but they're actually working on a product for the women to come out because a lot of women been asking about them, and our network is basically followed by 65 to 70% women. So I definitely gotta get something for the women out here. All right. So thanks.
Well, well, technically it's for the women, but we coming up on our wrap up time. I gotta say, man, I was more than impressed and look forward to seeing you again. Is there anything else you want to leave us with, Jabari, before we wrap up?
I just say continue to your work is adding value to others' lives, and also I just encourage everyone in these times to do the inner work first. These times are going to continue to change and shift. I think if we focus on what we can control, we can't control, I think we'll definitely be in a better place. But I encourage everyone to retreat inward, do the inner work, because if we are taking care of ourselves individually, then we'll be our better selves for others and the collective. So I think that's what we need to continue to do. And I do want to say, if people are looking for opportunities to connect and want to learn more, or opportunities for a conversation, let me know how I can help, or to be a mentor for someone who is looking to be in the same field, or education or leadership. Again, I'm more than happy to be a support.
Awesome, man. Thank you. I appreciate you, man. Definitely.
Well, brother, man, before I wrap this up, man, when this COVID thing gets, where we know what's going on. Hopefully we'll have a sit down over some brunch or whatever, and discuss some future endeavors, because you know what I mean. You like you said, iron sharpens iron, and ain't no creases in my pants. This iron is sharp. Really lit. You really turned the bulb on. I got a whole different outlook on some things, and you help that, like, you know, and now I feel like, you know, I can approach certain situations as far as the youngsters a little different because I deal with a lot of kids myself. You know, having young kids, you know, they have friends and they all look up, you know, they still, some of them still respectful and they speak, and you try to encourage them and teach them things along the way. So I feel like I got new tools tonight in that war, and I thank you for that, man. Trust me.
Well, and thank you so much. Again, reach out to me if there's anything else, whatever resources that I have access or knowledge to. I'd be more than happy to share because again, it definitely is just going to be important to help people grow.
All right.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Well, that's our show for the night. Oh, Dr. Whitehead, one more thing. DJ, chicka. So check him out. I seen him in a leather cowboy suit.
Who was that?
He had on a leather cowboy suit. He was
Oh, listen to him, man.
somebody, right? Am I lying?
I was not no leather cowboy suit.
Wild West. About that. And you know, you get check my man now, cause CMB Entertainment. Yeah,
thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
CMB Entertainment. We do it all. Thanks again for coming on. We was honored for having you.
Thank you.
Pleasure. For Williams World, my main man Chuck B, Dr. Jabari Whitehead. God bless. Good night. See y'all next Friday.
Yeah, thank you.